Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I am the pastor here at Free Spiritual Community, and we're so glad you're with us on another Saturday evening where, again, y'all, it's becoming like a Saturday night thing. It's snowing here. Can you believe it? Every Saturday night. Hey, if you're new with us this evening, welcome. I hope you stick around. If you're wondering, who exactly is this free people, this free spiritual community? We are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we like to do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. It's what we're about here. So stick around. I'm glad you're here. There's some good things happening that I want to tell you all about. Actually, I want to invite Saman to come up. Saman is our home team lead. We've got a really cool event coming up this Wednesday evening. I hope y'all come. Even if it snows, I want you all to come. Saman, tell them about it.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. It's so good to see everybody. Yay! Yeah, so free gives. This Wednesday, which is the 24th, from 5 to 7. Some of you may know the Hernandez, Tomas Hernandez. He and his family lost their home in a fire a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was. So they lost everything. It was their own personal home. So we have a sign-up genius. I'm going to post the link in the comments for anybody who would like to sign up. Bring something with you, monetary donations, or there's a list of things there that are required. And like where I said, rain, snow, sunshine, whatever, we will be doing it. So yeah, we hope to see you there. Oh yeah, wood-fired pizzas. So we can, you guys can stay in your car. We can, hand those into your cars, and we can take your donations that you bring. So yeah, you don't have to get out, but you're more than welcome to if you want to.
Thank you, Saman. A quick shout out to the Colorado Pizza Company food truck. They're going to be here on site, and they wanted to participate in this event with us. And he called me last week. He said, "Yeah, we're in for the event. Cool. How much is it going to be?" And he said, "We want to do this event for you guys at cost." So how cool is that? 150 wood-fired pizzas, first come, first serve. So come get dinner. Even if you can't bring a donation, come eat with us. Come hang out. Come show support and embrace Tomas and his family. They're going to be here, and it's going to be a fun night. So I hope to see you then. All right, y'all. We do have Andrew Brickford. Andrew Brickford is the lead of our tech team, and he did a letter to your addiction this week, and I can't wait to share this with you. We've been doing these every couple of weeks. We have some lined up for the future, but this one is a bit different than the ones you've seen in the past, and I can't wait for y'all to see it. It's got an artistic groove to it that you're going to love, I think. Here's Andrew's letter to his addiction. Take a look.
My name is Drew. My sobriety date is April 5th, 2017, and this is a letter to my addiction. Dear Mr. Darkness, when I was a kid, I knew you weren't my type. We had different dreams, started with different ideas, but here I am, reflecting on what a past it's been. Being locked behind your bars, too scared from within. You'll hear tragedy and horrors turn to weapons of faith. But fall from my own hell, straight into grace. My best friend was my shovel, a cooperative soldier of death. The days I was begged to stop digging were my best digging days yet. When chaos becomes normalcy, utter loneliness settles in. And Mr. Darkness, you helped me embrace it within. What's our next step, Mr. Darkness? You're in charge. After all, this was your idea. I'm just following along. A prey to your dominance, I am missing at large. So, in a pool of my own vomit, my next thought is controlled. I have no choice in the matter. My soul has been sold. My mother, who raised me, she doesn't need sleep. When she cries for me to go home, I won't make a peep. I'll steal your favorite watch your daughter gave you before she died. If it means a sack full of dope and a belly full of pride, I wake up in shame. Leaving you to resuscitate, for it is you too, the people I love, who get stuck with my fate. Remember that pistol whip to the face? Wasn't it worth it just to stay in the race? The bills, the appointments, they were here to stay. But we have priorities. Those are for others to pay. The law is unreasonable. Cops are robbers to me. In a world full of selflessness, lust, and greed. As you dug the hole inside me, we siphoned from those we love and attempted to fill that hole with the dreams of everyone else. Dripping with corrosion, an acid of delusion. So temptingly destructive and bleak, with you, Mr. Darkness, it becomes death I seek. That's it, I thought. I'm through with your rule. I left Mr. Darkness, alone and new. My best intentions turned to ash, my aspirations gray to black. On my own, it became impossible to get back on track. Mr. Darkness, guess what happened? The strangest thing, you see. I let go of everything, literally, including me. I have a new friend now. He stepped in and took over. I surrendered. I was reborn. And I was willing to do anything. No longer torn. The destruction, the chaos, the memories, now my greatest gifts. I have truth, I have experienced, I have escaped your deadly grip. For the ones who are falling short, barely here or already gone, it was me you see sitting not much further along, and it was them you see that showed me Mr. Darkness was wrong. The people you see around me, they gave me at no charge. I found me, and because of him, I'm no longer at large. P.S. to the dark, the serenity, the peace, you hate to see me taste, one day at a time, I continue to embrace. I can laugh until I can cry. I can open my eyes, start my day. I can look into my beautiful daughter's eyes and finally not see you. And P.S. to you, the struggling one, if I can be free, you can too.
Thank you, Andrew, for sharing your heart, sharing that poem with us, really. Thank you for the time you put into that and sharing it with this community. Love you, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're watching right now, I want to encourage you all to hit the share button. Share this because you never know who that letter and what happens here tonight, you never know how that's going to speak to people. Who needs to hear that? Who needs to hear a message of hope? So if you're watching right now, hit the share button. Share this with your friends and family because you never, ever know. All right, y'all, how we get started here at Free is we do celebrations. We celebrate together as a community. We lift up the good stuff. We don't ignore the bad stuff, the hard stuff. I shouldn't call it bad stuff. Hard stuff, difficult challenges, the burdens that we carry, we don't ignore that stuff. We just save it for the end. We start with celebrations. So I want y'all to take just a couple of minutes and get vulnerable in the comments. Let this community in on what you're celebrating, the good news. Maybe it's sobriety anniversaries or old babies being born, just babies being born, new jobs, whatever the new thing in life is that you're celebrating, doesn't matter how big or small, lift it up because something profound happens when a big community comes together and celebrates together and God joins with us in this celebration. So take a few minutes. If you're here in-house, we'll do that together. But if you're online, virtual, put it in the comments so we can celebrate with you. All right, we'll be right back.
People ask me what my secret is, I just smile and say, follow me. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Life's too short not to really live, I got a big heart, I can let you in. On top of the
because we are back. Did y'all celebrate well? Because we did here. Tammy's making her way up here. All right, y'all, I haven't even read the stream because we were doing our thing here, so I'm just going to trust our tech team to throw it on the screen for us, and we'll celebrate that way.
That letter was good, yeah?
Oh, my goodness.
Thanks, Andrew. Love you back.
Noelle's in the house. Not in the house, but she's on the screen.
Hey, Noelle. She says Josh is celebrating 10 months of sobriety today. Woohoo! Way to go, Josh. He also had an incredible win this week with his custody battle. Grateful to have so many blessings this week.
Yes, and I think y'all are celebrating right now. I saw it on Facebook. Thank you for sharing that, Noelle. Congratulations, Joshua. Glad y'all are part of this community. All right, Suzanne, down where I bet it's not snowing because she's in Arizona. Thanking God for my husband's continued healing after surgery. Thank you for lifting that up, Suzanne. We're celebrating that with you.
Yep.
We saw the, if you're friends with Suzanne on Facebook.
The staples.
Oh, he had staples all down his back. And
Yeah.
so Kenny, man, praying for you, dude. Glad you're healing. All
Hey,
right.
Bree, she says 4 months clean tomorrow.
All right, Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna, for sharing that.
Steven says, nobody was injured when the Boeing 777 lost its engine, which happened here in Denver, by the way.
I feel behind on this.
I texted you about
You
it.
just said it happened, but I didn't get any details.
You got to go read the news.
Okay.
You got to read your text.
This is good. Thanks,
No,
Steven.
so what happened, thank you for lifting that up, Stephen. A plane was flying and the engine like fell off the plane. One of the engines. Something fell off the plane. I don't think it was supposed to happen. But no one injured, it landed safely.
Wow.
So yes, we'll celebrate that. Thank you, Stephen.
Hey, Jen. Hey, Christy. Celebrating another sober Saturday night with my free fam. God is good all the time. Heck
Yes.
yes.
Can I just say something about that real quick? It's important to lift up. We have people all over the country joining us each week. Jen and her crew is out in North Carolina. We have others in North Carolina. We have people in Washington with Missy and her crew, all over the country, down in Florida. I'm not going to name all the states. You all know where you are. I just want to say welcome. All the sober living houses that are joining us in their living rooms, welcome. We are so glad you're part of this community. Even if you can't physically be here, love you all and glad you're part of it.
Well said.
All right, do we have more? Crystal says, happy to have found this online community. Crystal, glad you're here. We're celebrating having you here. Glad you found us. I think you're going to love this community.
All right. MJ, we're going to wrap it up with you. She says thankful for 75th birthday this week.
Happy birthday, MJ.
Happy birthday, my friend.
All right, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
We'll see you back soon, I think. All right, y'all, we are in week 4. You know, when I planned this series, I thought, I don't know how many weeks we're going to go. We're going to go till we're done with this one. So who knows? This is a fun series. It's called Selfless. What does selfless love, selfless living look like for you? Take a look at this little video. All right, for the next few minutes, we are going to talk about mud and love and Jesus and Forrest Gump and what all of these things have to do with one another. Are you with me? So, in this Selfless series, we've been asking some questions. Questions like, what does your love for others look like? What does selfless living for you look like? And what are you doing with the gift you've been given? What are you doing with it? How are you treating it? So it was the summer of 2016. And on that morning, early in the morning, I was out at breakfast with a friend. Some of my most important meetings are breakfast meetings. I was out at breakfast with a friend, and this friend is also in recovery. And he says to me with a great deal of passion, he says, "Ryan, have you ever seen Forrest Gump?" To which I responded, like millions of other people, "Yes, I've seen that movie." He says, "Great. Do you remember the scene where they are in the Vietnam War and Forrest was one of the soldiers in the Vietnam War? And remember when Forrest was running through the mud and the mess and the jungle to go find his best good friend Bubba?" Remember this scene? He starts running through the mud and the mess, the jungle. It's raining. He's dirty. And as he's running to find Bubba, he stumbles upon a wounded soldier who's lying on the ground. And he picks up this wounded soldier, throws him on his shoulder, and he carries him out to a place where healing and recovery is possible. Why? Simply because he knows the way out. And he goes back in to find Bubba, and the same thing happens. He sees another wounded soldier, and he carries him back. And then he goes back in, and it happens again and again and again until he finds his best good friend, Bubba. And as my friend is reiterating this scene to me, he says, that's what we do. I mean, that's what we do in recovery. We go into the mess, we go through the mud, and we walk with them, we journey with them, we carry them because we've been given a gift and we know the way out. It's who we are. You see, those hard moments are often the defining moments, right? I mean, it's why Forrest was even telling this story in the movie. And as my friend is telling me this story, I'm wondering, why is he telling me this? Why is he reiterating this scene to me? Does he think I'm not doing this? Well, why is he telling me this? Maybe I need to reaffirm to him and reassure him and remind him that I'm good. And y'all, let me just be honest with you for just a moment. This was in 2016. This was right around year 3 of my recovery. Around year 3 of my recovery, I slipped into the thinking that recovery is all about me and my healing. I'm good, I'm healed, I'm good. Some of y'all laugh because you've been there. You know exactly what it's like. Or you've seen others who have gone there. And I thought to myself, maybe I need to remind him that I am clergy, ordained clergy. I'm a pastor. I get to stand each week in front of a group of people and I get to point people in the right direction. Oh, you need God? God's that way. You need healing? Healing's that way. You need recovery? Recovery's that way. But see, that's not what my friend was talking about. He wasn't talking about pointing people in the right direction. He was talking about the power of being with people, walking with them, getting in the mud with them, and journeying with them towards a different place. And what he said to me in that moment was, you've been given a gift. What are you doing with that gift? Because you know you can't keep it unless you give it away. And let's talk about those defining moments in your life for just a moment. Because see, if I were to ask you, if we were to sit down over coffee and I were to ask you, tell me about the 3 or 4 most defining moments in your life, the moments that truly defined you, most of you would go to the hard places. Many of you would begin telling me about that divorce or that loss, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a relationship, the loss of an identity. You would begin telling me about that bankruptcy, or what it was like to battle through your addiction and not being able to get clean and sober, or what it was like and what it's still like for you to watch someone that you love battle and struggle through their addiction. And y'all know this is true in relationships too, right? I mean, this is true in marriages. For many years, Tammy and I, we led several couples retreats. And it was always the same story after the retreat. After we had time to reflect on it, it was the same thing, the same theme that came out. The hard stuff, the obstacles, the challenges that these couples went through, these were the moments that had a way of binding them together, bringing them more closely together. It was always the hard stuff. The hard stuff is what allowed them to make it through to a better place. You know, just this week, Tammy and I were meeting with, we have a coach in ministry that we meet with every month, and she's down in Nashville, and we have a Zoom with her, and we were Zooming with her, and she asked me the question. She said, Ryan, tell me about some of the failures in your ministry. Man, talk about hard stuff. Talk about getting vulnerable. And I started describing to her some of the failures that I had experienced in ministry. And when I got done, she said, but you made it through, didn't you? And then she said, and some of the things you're doing now are born out of those failures. Yeah. You see, some of you are going through a defining moment in your life right now, and I know you can't see it as a defining moment. You just see it as hard and it sucks, and you want to get through it, and you can't see it as a defining moment. You won't see it as a defining moment until many months or even years later. But remind yourself, be reminded, you're still here, aren't you? I mean, you're still breathing, right? You woke up this morning. You made it through the last hard thing, didn't you? You see, you've been given a gift. What does your love for others look like, and what are you doing with the gift you've been given? Because the truth is, there are people in our midst who need you to run into the jungle, to run into the mess, through the mud, and to be with them, because you know the way out. You know, a couple of years ago, I was meeting with a lady, and this lady has given her life. Her life's work is about being with and stepping into the mud with the most vulnerable, most broken people, the most suffering. And she's telling me about her work, and she starts describing the mud hole. And I interrupt her, and I said, I'm sorry, are you saying mud hole? And she says, yeah, you don't know about the mud hole? I mean, I feel like it was another wagon story. Like, no, I don't know about the mud hole, but apparently I need to know. Do tell. I swear to God, the next morning, I go into the office, and on my desk, there was a stack of papers about this high. And on this stack of papers was the top paper, and it was this image. We'll throw it on the screen for you. No, not that image. It wasn't that one. Do we have it, the mud hole? Oh, there it is. And the rest of the stack described this image. Has anyone heard of this before? Oh, good, I get to share it with you. I love sharing new things with you. This one is so simple and easy to understand. Y'all are going to love it. And Ryan likes simple and easy to understand. So this is called the mud hole, and it's an image. It's a thing about caregiving and care receiving. Now, I circled the character who is the care receiver so y'all could see it real clearly. The care receiver is deep in the mud hole. He or she is struggling. He or she doesn't know how to get out. They need someone to be with them, to jump in the mud to help them. And the other three characters, they represent our three possible responses to helping. The first one on that left, that's the character of sympathy. Some of you all know something about sympathy. As my friend says, sympathy is just kind of cruel, isn't it? Because the one who responds in sympathy just stands over the edge and looks at him and says, my goodness, sucks to be you. Maybe you can get out if you do this. Maybe help is that way. Maybe healing is that way. Yeah, I know something about sympathy. Been there, done that. The character next to them who's in the mud hole with them, yes, some of y'all are going to relate to this, the over-identifier. Y'all know about the over-identifier? This is the person, thank you, Drew. This is the person who jumps in the mud. You'll often see this with people early in recovery. They're so excited, they just want to help. And they jump in the mud and they say, I'm here. Now what? And the truth is, no, there's not a now what. Because you don't know the way out. You don't have tools. You don't have experiences yet. You can't help. There is no now what, because now you're both stuck in the mud. Been there, done that? Yeah. Some of y'all are laughing because it's true. Now the third character, the one of empathy. Yeah, this is the sweet spot. This is where we want to be. This is the one who jumps in the mud. But notice in the image, they stay connected to the life source as they jump in the mud to be with the one who's hurting. They stay connected to something that's rooted. They stay connected to something bigger and greater than themselves. How do you respond? Now, here's the thing about Jesus. Jesus was always getting into the mud with people. Never sympathetic, but always empathetic. So I want to share this story with you, and it comes from John's Gospel, chapter 9, and it's a story about healing and Jesus making mud, and it goes like this. As Jesus went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And let's just pause there for one moment. Because how many of y'all, when you were in the throes of your addiction, needed some answers and you needed someone to blame? Or how many of y'all, when you're watching your loved one battle and struggle through addiction, you needed some answers and you needed someone to blame because you knew if you had someone to blame, it would be easier on you. You didn't have to wrestle with things. So Jesus responds, neither this man nor his parents sinned, Jesus said, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. And let's pause for just one more moment because it's really interesting, isn't it? How many of you can now look back and see that the blame game helped nothing? Blaming helped nothing. But God is using this struggle, your addiction, to now help other people, that God is doing a work in you that you could never do for yourself, and you know that that is a miracle. Here's how the story ends. After saying this, Jesus spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, nah, he only looks like him. Now this line's funny. If you're not laughing, you don't have humor. But he himself insisted, I'm the man. How then were your eyes opened? They asked. He replied, the man they call Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash, so I went and washed, and then I could see. Now, y'all know why I love this story? Because like so many of the other stories, the disciples, the ones who are closest to Jesus, his closest friends, they're the ones asking all the wrong questions. And can't you hear Jesus responding? Are you guys freaking serious right now? I mean, that's your question? That's your question? Who sinned? Why? God must have done this? Can't you hear Jesus saying to them, oh, I get it. Y'all need someone to blame. You need some stones to throw, because as long as you can have someone to blame, as long as you have stones to throw, then you don't have to get very close, do you? Then you don't have to get in the mud with them. Then you can just write them off as an outcast and you can keep them at an arm's distance. And Jesus says that's not the way we roll. And here's an interesting note. When the early Jesus followers were telling stories about Jesus, they often did so with this as the backdrop. Jesus is Lord, not Caesar. Caesar, Roman emperors. Do y'all remember in your history classes learning about a first century Roman historian named Tacitus? Am I the only history nerd here with that kind of stuff? Okay, let's geek out together for just a moment. Tacitus, first century Roman historian, he tells a story about one of the first century Roman emperors named Vespasian. There was lots of first century Roman emperors, but this was one of them, Vespasian. And he tells the story of a blind man coming to Vespasian's gates. And this blind man, in the midst of a large crowd, is begging Vespasian for healing. And he says to him, Vespasian, please spit on the ground in the dirt And see, in the ancient thinking, if you were born of the divine, and it was said that Roman emperors were born of the divine, if you were born of the divine, then your spit, your saliva had healing elements. Please spit on the ground and make some mud from your saliva. And Vespasian, we're told in the story, laughs at this man, ridicules him, points him out to the crowd. But this man is relentless. Please bring me some healing, Vespasian. So Vespasian goes back into his council and he says, look, guys, we've got a problem. Because there's this man out at the gates and he's crazy, but he's relentless and it's making me look bad because I don't have an answer for him. What should I do? And the council says, well, of course, do the healing. Go through with it. And if it works, you will get all the credit, glory, and honor. And if it doesn't work, well then, point him out in front of the crowds. Let people know he's too far gone. He's beyond repair. Not even the gods could show him favor. So Vespasian says, fine. He goes out. He spits on the ground. He makes some mud. He rubs it in his eyes, and guess what? It works. This man is healed. I wish I could read this story to you, but it's too long. You could read it in this interesting work called The Histories, cleverly titled. Vespasian stands at the gates, and the crowds are cheering and chanting his name. Now, y'all know this had nothing to do with the suffering in his midst, but it had everything to do with Vespasian's ego. Now, compare that story to the other first century story of Jesus healing a blind man. And Jesus saying to him, go to Siloam. Go to Siloam and wash there because that's the place you're going to experience healing. And y'all notice what Jesus doesn't do? He doesn't stand there and gloat and say, look how good I am. He doesn't say to the blind man, hey, by the way, once you get healing, what I need you to do is come back and tell me how great I am. Come back and worship me and let everyone know how great I am. Jesus wasn't into that. He was not an egomaniac. In fact, the way the story ends, if we were to keep reading, Jesus is nowhere to be found because it wasn't about him. It was about the suffering in his midst. Go to Siloam. That pool. Yeah, that one. That place. The place where you're from. Remember, it translates as the place where you were sent. Why did Jesus send him back there? Because that's where the suffering is. That's where the suffering people still are, and those are his people. I wonder, is this still the message for us today? Go to Siloam, the place where you were sent, because that's where the suffering is. That's where the sick people still are, and they need you. That's the place where you're going to experience healing. Go to the place where you've been given a gift, because that's where they are. And let me just say it really bluntly. If you're teeter-tottering in your recovery from addiction, or your recovery from hard things in life, or your recovery from pain, or your recovery from whatever it is, my brothers and sisters, be reminded there are people in your midst who need you. And isn't that what my friend was saying to me? Go to that place, because others need you to walk through the mud with them. They need you to journey with them. So let me ask you, where's your Siloam? Where's the place where you were sent? Where's the place where you experienced healing? And who are the people who need you to jump into the mud with them and be with them and to journey with them? Because the truth is, my brothers and sisters, your healing, your wholeness, your well-being is connected to their healing, their wholeness, their well-being. So take a moment and reflect. Where's your Siloam? Who are those people? Take a minute and then we'll come right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a moment to reflect. I hope you had a moment to consider where Salome is. Ask yourself that question all week long. Where is it? Where's the place you were sent? The place you experienced healing? And I want to introduce you all to our guest storyteller for this evening. Sheri Blosser is in the house, and yeah, we can clap for that. Not just yet, just a moment. I got to say a few more words. She's in the house. She's the program manager of Aurora Sober Living. I said it earlier to the in-house crowd tonight. She's got tons of energy. This is going to be all sorts of fun. If y'all aren't laughing, there's a problem. So bring some laughter, Sheri. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to have her. You know what's cool about this community? From day one, from our very first week, we have had a guest storyteller every single week. I think we missed 2 or 3 weeks along the way, but we have a storyteller every single week to share their experience with us and how all this stuff makes sense to them and where they find hope. So help me help me welcome Sheri Blosser. Keep them in the back. They might get too. We're back on, aren't we? Welcome back, everybody. All right, so we're going to jump into this interview. You know what? So Sheri and I, we actually serve on a board together for Paradigm One. Shout out to Paradigm One. We're going to get Gino and Jess here soon to tell us about what's going on there. Mm-hmm. But your sister's part of this community. She talked about you a few weeks ago, and she shared her story.
My older sister.
Older sister. Yeah. I wasn't going to say it.
I mean.
But there you go.
Let's make that clear.
And so just all kinds of good things. And she's actually the one who said, you help tons of people. And I said, we got to get her in here and hear how she's doing it, what's happening. But I want to start with, because I think it's always important to start with, you're in recovery.
Yes, sir.
In fact, my sister from another mister.
We both just celebrated 8 years.
We both celebrated 8 years.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
So 8 years sober.
8 years sober.
Tell us, I mean, this community, we often talk about addiction and the stronghold, and we know that it's suffering, but what was life like for you? And just a simple 2-minute version of what it was like.
Yeah, my story wasn't really me being homeless or, me losing that job or things like that. I was done and I was miserable and I was a prisoner in my own body. And I just kind of had a come to God moment where I knew I wanted my life to be different. I was blessed enough to have a family to reach out to that immediately, when I reached out for that help and was ready to surrender, it got me into treatment. And since I walked in those doors, I've been sober since. They offered me a solution that I grabbed full force, and I've been sober since, and life's been incredible.
I mean, so what was the moment where you said, the gift of desperation, as we call it, what was the moment where you said, this is stupid, I'm miserable? Was there a moment?
I think, I was just, I think if the drugs and alcohol didn't kill me, I would have killed myself. Yeah. I mean, I just don't know if I could have lived a second longer with the anxiety and the shame and the guilt and just the loneliness and all the things that addiction brings. I don't know how much longer I would have lasted. And so, I had tried to go to some AA meetings and nothing really stuck with me. And I knew I needed to go somewhere where I could fully focus on my recovery and be removed. And I it was a luxury thing, and I was able to do that, and it was a blessing.
Awesome. So here's what I want to ask you. I want you to tell us a little bit about what it's like for you, Sheri, to jump in the mud and be with people, because you kind of went like head first in.
I did.
In the best possible way.
I was that guy who jumped in.
Yeah.
I totally was. I was that guy.
You opened, tell us a little bit about, you opened Sobriety First.
I did.
We have someone here who went to Sobriety First.
We do.
That was in 2013, co-ed sober living houses. After that, you opened Aurora Sober Living. Mm-hmm. That was in November of 2019. You had 6 houses. Yeah. Tell us about that experience, how you're helping people, what you see, and what you're doing now.
It has been an absolutely incredible journey. There's no way that I'd be able to keep what was so amazingly and freely given to me unless I started to give it away. And so, I gave my will and my life over to God and asked for a purpose from him. And this is what he had in store for me. I had a really good friend of mine who was in recovery as well, and we just wanted to open our first women's house, and I needed some boys to play with, so we opened some boys' houses, and within a few years, we had 12 houses, and it was absolutely incredible. Tomas Hernandez was my very first male tenant.
Are you kidding me?
He was my very first male tenant, and now he's building his own empire.
Hold on, and he is, isn't he?
We have to put him on blast because this fool walked up like a hot mess, tattooed up, and I'm like, this is the first guy you give me, dude?
He's still a hot
I
mess.
was like, he's going to kill me in my sleep. What are you doing? It was a disaster. I was like, you've got to be kidding. I said, softball players. What is this? It was a disaster.
Hold on, if y'all are fuzzy on who Tomas is, that's the one we're doing the fundraiser for
Yeah, and
this
he shared
Wednesday.
his story here, too.
He shared
He's
here,
great.
tattooed all up.
Tattooed up as real
He's
as
cool.
it gets.
And yet a
Love
teddy
him.
bear. I mean, so
Oh,
whatever
he's
you
great.
did worked.
I cannot believe the empire he's building and now what he's doing to give back. Robert Peasley, Saman, Chandra. I mean, there's an incredible amount of people that I got to see walk from the stepping stones of this thing and now are just changing lives everywhere they go. And it is so cool to be like a journey, a part of their journey and just see what they do in the community, It's
So
incredible.
you said something really interesting to me when we met last week, and I wrote it down. I want to read it.
Okay.
You said, I've probably led a lot of people to the water, but it's not up to me to make them drink. You said, in fact, most don't ever drink from the water, but I still feel obligated to help lead them to the water.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, God, if I knew where the river was and there's people coming to me continuously thirsty, who am I not to walk them straight to the path, I can't want it for them. I can't do it for them, but I sure can offer them the solution that was so freely given to me. And I can guide them and get dirty with them and the resources in the community that's been presented to me. I can help them find exactly what they need. And I can be, a good resource for people in the community to find exactly what they're looking for. And I would not be able to keep any of the things that were given to me if I didn't give those away. And so, just as much as it helps them, and I love doing what I do, it also reminds me where I came from and what it would look like to go back. And, if I hadn't been presented with the recovery community, I was very much surrounded by a family who didn't understand addiction and didn't understand, the things that I was going through. And then I was put in the core of this recovery community where everyone just loved me for who I was and accepted me for who I wanted to be. And had zero expectations of me. They just wanted to guide me and show me the solution that was given to them. So who am I to hang on to that? I mean, I love giving that away. Yeah. My life today, I still have turmoils and tribulations and things, but I'm free today. And, there's nothing in my life that I can't handle. I have an army behind me today. I spent a lot of my life being surrounded by very selfish people in their addiction and alcoholism, and we were all just fighting to survive. You know, we would have stole their grandma's necklace if it gave us our next fix. And now I'm surrounded by people who are so selfless. It almost just transforms who I am. They say if you chill in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. I mean, I surrounded myself in this community of amazing, recovering people, that give their will to God on a daily basis. And slowly it just naturally started to become, routine for me to act the same way.
So explain to people, when we're talking about jumping into the mud with people, where are people at when you see them? Where's their life at when you're stepping in with sober living and a different option, a new way of life? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, we get people who I pick them up and drive them all their fancy stuff in their Lexus to the sober livings. They're coming out of a treatment center. And we have people who literally are coming out of free shelter and have not anything on but the things on their back.
Yeah, and it's
And
important to say
so-
that because there's a lot of myths around alcoholism, addiction, all forms of addiction, that you have to be homeless and living in the streets. But I'm glad you said that this disease does not discriminate. It takes the rich, it takes the poor, it does not discriminate. It takes everybody.
It does not discriminate. And so I just try to meet people where they're at. You know what I mean? I can figure out what they need, what their recovery life needs to look like. You know, a big thing for me is I was so scared I was going to be bored. And that would be a trigger for me. I was like, I'm going to be bored. How boring is recovery going to be, right? Like, I need entertainment. Like, I've never been bored.
I know, I follow you on Facebook.
Yeah, this community is like, I have money to buy toilet paper to like TP houses. Like, I found a new way to entertain myself, right? So like, and I play softball, and you know, not by any means have I figured this thing out. I literally just had to pull Lou aside and be like, they want me to pitch, teach me how to pitch. Like, I'm human, right? I have no idea. And he will selflessly teach me.
Is that a request?
He said, Lost Cause, not doing it.
We're still praying for him about selfless living.
Yeah,
so
I know.
There's hope.
I know. You know, so, but I have this community today of selfless people. So when I do need help still, I mean, I'm far from the person I still want to become, right? And so even at 8 years of sobriety, I have a lot of shit to figure out still.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a community, an army behind me that I've created by being present for them and being selfless for them, that they do the same for me today.
See, and what I love about people in recovery, man, you were self-centered, selfishness. I mean, you were doing anything it took to get the next drink or get the next high.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's people who say, wait a minute, life is better than that.
Yeah.
What if I actually took this gift I was given, this gift of life, this gift of breath that I was given, and I use it for some positive impact in the world?
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing.
I love it.
I want you to tell us a little bit about what keeps you going. Because I know in this work you're surrounded by the dark stories sometimes.
Yeah.
Things can get hard. There's what professionals call compassion fatigue.
Sure.
What keeps you going when you hit those moments of fatigue?
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. I have to very much listen to my higher power, and when I need to rest, I need to rest. But, you know, it motivates me to think of just talking to someone on the phone for an hour might get them to where I'm at today, right? Even if I can just plant that seed and spend an extra few minutes with this person, who knows if they're gonna build an empire like Tribe Recovery Homes? Who knows if, you know, they won't want anything to do with it all. But I won't know unless I try. I don't think I'd have the passion that I do and the drive that I do to get up and do this every single day if I wasn't so grateful for the life that I have.
And one of the things you said to me, you said, I didn't believe that I was worthy of love, of grace, of mercy. But then you said I started living in God's will and things started to change.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, just who is God to you? How have you discovered God?
My God is Jesus. Jesus was my savior when I was in my addiction, but I was very pissed off at him. I was the one person he was out to get, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was the only person in this world struggling with anxiety and alcoholism. Oh my God, why does he hate me so much? I don't understand what I ever did to him. Like, I wear the what would Jesus
Yeah, and it
bracelet.
goes with
What am I
that
doing
thinking,
wrong?
right? What did I do? It's the same question the disciples
Right.
asked. Who did something to sin here for God to do this?
Right. And, you know, I'm walked into this treatment center where there's 40 other people who are struggling with anxiety and alcoholism. I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe he's not so mad, right? You know, and then I started to do the step work with an amazing sponsor. And, you know, through that, figured out where my best thinking leads me to. And it leads me straight to treatment. And so I had to live for something outside of myself. And I was able to work on my relationship with God. And today it's just something that I didn't even know was possible. You know what I mean? But it wasn't expecting from him. It was also giving. and being willing to surrender and being willing to listen and hear when I need to rest and when I need to go full speed. And I mean, he steers my bike. I just pedal, right? And so, I give my will to him every single day. I'm scared for a day that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And what that would even look like.
So in closing, Danny, which camera is she on? This one? Would you look into the camera, this one?
Sure.
And for people who are like, they're wondering, "Man, maybe I need some help.
Sure.
Maybe things have gone on for too long. Maybe if the drink doesn't take me, if the drug doesn't take me, I'm going to take myself."
Yep.
I mean, what do you say to people who in this community we identify as they're barely hanging on?
Sure.
What do you say to them?
I say to them, they're not alone. I was scared that I was alone, and that you're not alone, and that there is a solution, and I hope that you can find some hope in that. It's such a hopeless, lonely disease, and you can die alone or you can recover together. And so I just pray that, if you are struggling, you can reach out to someone who can get you connected with the help that you need. It doesn't always have to be treatment. It doesn't always have to be you have insurance. There is just solutions out there. And I know an army of people in this community that would go beyond out of their way to help you get there.
I know
And
an
so
army
please
of
reach
people
out.
in this room who would do
Absolutely.
that.
I know,
Right
I'm
now,
looking
sitting in this
around
room.
and I'm like, soldier. Like, it's incredible. I didn't even know this life existed. These type of people were real.
Yeah.
Joshua
Joshua Miller, if you're watching, Joshua
real
said
thing.
said today, celebrating 10 months sober, he said, "Man,
awesome.
I didn't know life could be this good."
I-
And that's what we
yeah.
experience, isn't it? I didn't know life could be this good.
I know.
Yeah, we can clap for that.
I know. It's awesome.
Sheri, thank you so much for being
My pleasure.
here. I want to have you back again some point
Please.
because this is too much fun.
Please.
And listen, y'all, Sheri said she'd be hanging out on the thread. So if that's you, if she was just talking to you,
Yeah.
I know you would be willing to help. But like I said, there's a host of people in this room on this thread from different parts of the country. But you have to take the step and reach out.
Yeah.
You have to say, all right, I'm ready. I want to see what this different kind of life is all about. But I know you would
That's all you
respond to
need to
people.
do.
So if you've got questions for Sheri or more questions about what she does or how you can connect with her,
Please.
drop her a line, drop her a comment, show her some love. She'll be in touch with you tonight.
Please.
Thank you, Sheri. So good to have you here.
You too, my man.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you again, Sheri. Thank you all for being here tonight, virtually and in person. The way we close things down here at Free is, like I said at the beginning, we close down with heartaches. And the reason we do that is because many of you in this community especially, we carry heavy burdens. Burdens of suffering, burdens of death, burdens of all kinds of weight that we carry. And the truth is, my brothers and sisters, you weren't created to carry these burdens alone. So we lift them up. And God always hears the cries of the people. So we lift them up to God, we lift them up together, and we do it together as a community. So the same way we did celebrations, that's how we do heartaches. I want you all to get vulnerable. And if you're new here, you might be thinking to yourself, man, that's kind of creepy just to type in my burden, the thing I'm carrying in a Facebook comment or YouTube comment or on the website. Yeah, we encourage you to do it. Do it. I promise you, you are going to experience a community of people who are going to surround you with love and embrace you. So take a moment, a couple of moments, and type in your heartaches. We're going to do the same thing here with the in-house crowd, and then we'll be right back. others here too. Peyton, who just spoke. All right, welcome back, everybody. Heaviness, man. I'm always, I don't know, taken back by the heaviness we experience together as a community, but joy too. Joy and heaviness. Celebrations and heartaches. All right, let's throw some things on the screen, shall we?
Hey, Chris. He says losing both grandmothers, a best friend, another friend from a ministry, and a cousin are all taking a toll. Could use prayers for some deep depression.
Chris, prayers for you, brother. Glad you're tuning in tonight. Glad you're part of this community. Brian says, my sponsor's daughter has 4th stage stomach cancer and 4th stage ovarian cancer. She went in for more chemo this week, and the cancer has spread. They've sent her home with morphine and are fixing to set up in-home hospice. Please pray for all involved. Brian, thank you for lifting her and the family up. Prayers during this sacred moment, during this time of vigil. Thank you, Brian.
Monica says, carrying years of guilt for the hurt and pain I caused to people I loved and who loved me. Some are gone, and I can never tell them how sorry I am.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Monica. Prayers for you, and there's, for those of you that work the steps, you know the steps are a great help in this area. How to make amends to people, how to let things go. Prayers for you, Monica. Jeremy, are they still in? Are they still in Mexico?
They are.
Are they joining us from Mexico? They
Yeah.
win some sort of award for that. Jeremy and Lindsay. Prayers for Lindsay's great-grandma. She had complications with her heart surgery, and also prayers for safe travels for us returning home from Mexico. Prayers for y'all. Prayers for safe travels. I hope it snows a bunch more so you guys get to come home to snow. That's what you
Waiting
get
for
for
ya.
going away to Mexico.
It's coming down.
He is. All right,
love it.
Jeremy. When we were in Mexico in October, we tuned in. Remember?
I know, we did.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Glad y'all are joining us.
And he said, thank you, Anne-Marie, for doing coffee.
Thank you. Yes. Anne-Marie knocked it out of the park. All right, we got another one on the screen.
Cindy says, prayers for everyone who struggles with the disease of addiction. Know you are all loved.
Yes.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy, for lifting them up. Shall we do one more, Drew? A couple more? Marty says, prayers for my kind neighbor, Mike, and his daughter. Mike's health recently took a downward turn. He was just told he has cancer throughout his body and weeks to live.
Dang.
Marty, thank you for lifting Mike and his daughter. Prayers for them, prayers for you as you, I know you do, walk through the mud with them. So lifting them up, lifting you up. Let's do one more.
And Jen says, all the fallen friends who have gone back out, never to make it back.
Yeah. Thank you for lifting them up, Jen. Prayers for them. And listen, if you didn't get an opportunity to put it in the comments or to get it in tonight, or if we didn't read it, know that we are praying with you. We have a prayer team. We will get in touch with you through the week. If you want it, we'll send you a text. We will encourage you. I promise you're going to get good vibes and love. And you can also, if you have things that come up through the week, put them in a thread, because we keep up with that through the week. So put them in the thread, and it's one way we do this work together. Speaking of doing this work together, are you leaving?
I'm going to let you do it alone.
Speaking of doing this work together, I'll stand here by myself. Listen, one of the ways we do this mission together, one of the ways we keep this train moving, the ways the mission thrives, which is to create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection and break the silence of addiction, is it truly is your generous giving that keeps the mission thriving. So instead of telling the wagon story tonight, I know y'all are going to miss it. You can read it on the website. I want y'all to hear from Jason. Jason did a little video about why he gives, and I want you to see this message from Jason.
Hi, my name is Jason. I'm a recovering gambling addict. I spend my money gambling, I spend my money on women, and I spend my money on drinking. It's important to understand that I had a very unhealthy relationship with money. I used to worship money, and that started after my mom passed away. To me, my mom was my security, and then money became my security. I'm not a very wealthy person. Every dime I get, I work for. So even though I don't have a lot, I still give. Since finding God in recovery, my security has changed. I used to dump my money in slot machines. Now I give my money to things that matter to me. So I give to Free because I feel welcome here. I feel loved. People give me hugs. People know me by name. Free has become a home to me and so many others. You may be sitting here thinking you don't have a lot to give. It's not about how much it is to give, because everything we get from God is a gift. That's why I give. Together, we are breaking the silence of addiction and creating a space of healing, recovery, and spiritual connections.
I'm telling y'all, Jason has been in this community since day one in our backyard. He was there the very first week. This dude, he nailed it when you said it's not about how much. It's about it coming from the heart. It's about it being sacrificial. This dude has taught me so much about generous giving, and thank you for that, Jason. I'm so glad you're part of this community. If you want to give in this community, there's giving boxes scattered throughout the premises, but there's also 3 ways for you to give virtually, and we always let y'all know this. You can download the free Spiritual Community app, and you can give there. It's a free app. Download it for free. Or you can go to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com/give, and you can give on the website, or you can text the number on your screen and text to them, Be the Wagon. And it walks you through some simple instructions. Your generous giving sustains the mission here at Free, and we are so grateful. We realize for many of you, this is a spiritual practice. It does not go unnoticed. Thank you. Can't say thank you enough. All right, listen, y'all, we are going to close with a word of prayer. Let's go out with the Lord's Prayer. But before we do, as we do in this community, just open your hands. For some of us, it's like the most open we're going to be all week long. For some of us, it's the most quiet we're going to be all week long. Opening your hands is a symbol of openness to what God is doing through you and all around you. And let's say the Lord's Prayer together. If you don't know it, it's on the screen. And it goes like this. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week, may you engage the question, where is your Siloam? Where is the place you were sent? Where's the place you experienced healing? Where's the place where you experienced a gift? And what are you doing with that gift? How are you treating it? And this week, as you engage those questions, may you, my brothers and sisters, experience all kinds of grace and peace along the way. See you Wednesday night here at Free for Free Gives. Peace out, everybody.